This is going to be a film study look at JAD, Jalyn Armour-Davis, and how he played in the Ravens' Week 3 preseason loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Also a little bit of commentary. I had actually done a video on him and Caillou Blue-Kelly, kind of comparing how they played. I just never pushed it out before the 53-man roster was announced. Of course, the Ravens, possibly going to bring Caillou Blue-Kelly back onto the practice squad. Who knows? But JAD made the 53-man roster, at least off the jump. And, of course, we know they kept a lot of corners, at least two of which who have injury problems and may not, Marlon Humphrey may not start the season or may not even be back till 3 or 4 weeks into the year. But, look, I'll be honest with you, JAD showed more quickness and more abruptness, I thought, than in Week 3 than I had seen earlier in the preseason, and way more than we saw last year when he did play. So kind of supports the fact that he was dealing with things injury-wise last year. I think I got 9 plays to show you, and I'm going to kind of skip the first 3. So what I mean is I'm going to show you him playing against some of the receivers who maybe won't start for the Bucks. Moore, Trey Palmer, and then go back and show you the first 3 plays that I have. Didn't seem like he was targeted, to be honest with you, much in the first 2 or 3 possessions. So this first one is going to be a first quarter, about 3:50 left. It's a 3rd and 7. It's going to be a bunch to the top side of the screen. JAD spot shadowed. He's on the outside receiver more. Really nice design on this out pressure cut to a slant. So what I mean is you get the point man, the number 2 receiver, running out into the flats. And JAD, I think, sees it, realizes he's got to leave some space for it's man. It's man here, if you ask me. So he knows that Ardarius is going to have to do something, either go underneath to defend this guy on the flats or go over the top. He's got to have awareness of that. If he doesn't have awareness, he gets really lucky that him and Ardarius don't run into each other, which is also possible. That is pure luck. But I think he understands that they're not switching this, because you could very easily have let JAD take the guy into the flats and Ardarius at depth play the guy running the out pressure in cut. But, of course, they don't know the route the guy's running. That's the whole point. You got to be athletic enough to respond to it. I didn't think last year, to be honest with you, the film that we saw, he looked athletic enough to respond to these change of direction routes. I don't think he played them great in the Week 3 game against the Bucks, but I think he played them better than we saw last year in his rookie year, where we know he was dealing with an injury. In any case, it's a 3rd and 7. Ardarius gets through, barely, between the space created by JAD. And I think that's Moore. I could be wrong there. And then JAD has to make the tackle along with Geno Stone, who obviously always brings the thunder and likes to hit people. All right, second play is a 2nd and 4, about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. And he's in off coverage, and he's going to jump this speed out by, again, I think it's Moore. I was surprised. I was surprised this wasn't a pick 6. He's breaking as the ball is released. I mean, really, you can see the quarterback here has still got the ball loaded up, and JAD's already breaking on this speed out. Maybe for an instant he needs to, run downhill and not look at the ball. Some guys do that. Some guys are tracking the ball the whole time. Some guys are breaking for a step and a half and then picking the ball back up. But in any case, it doesn't work out for JAD. Just a half step late. It was a real opportunity, I thought, for him to make a play, especially because if there is an out and up that develops here, because it's a 2nd and 4, so it's an open down. It's not 3rd and 7. It's not 3rd and 6. It's an open down, meaning that you got the out and up in play. The speed out is there. He does potentially have the help over the top, and you're going to see a play later on where I'm going to try to sell you that I excuse the fact that he got off too quickly in terms of getting off to respect the vertical. In this case, he potentially does have help in the case of Worley being a half-field safety to his side. In the other play that I'm going to show you in a moment, he would not have help. So I can understand him being worried about getting beat deep. But I feel like this is either a learning moment for him, or it's a revealing look into what he's not able to do in terms of not able to break down on the ball and pick it and take it to the house, because to me it looks like a fantastic opportunity for him to make a play. Now, he did beat out Caillou Blue-Kelly, if you want to say that they were competing with each other. JAD does play on this film on both sides of the ball, but generally on the left-hand side. All right, second quarter, about 13 minutes left. This is a 2nd and 7. This is JAD versus Trey Palmer, the super talented rookie from Nebraska. And again, JAD does look quicker than last year to me. And this is a clear push off by Palmer, in my opinion, maybe two of them. You definitely have, a Reggie White club with the left hand trying to get JAD going that way. And then another push off here to try to get some separation. I thought JAD had good coverage on this one. He was handsy too, don't get me wrong, on Palmer. But Palmer was struggling to get open here, I thought. Ended up having to push off. And look, Ardarius and Del'Shawn Phillips also get in the window, clearly, of the quarterback and the receiver, and where the receiver ends up going to the sideline. They can still play a role in that. So they're also in that window. Throw ends up being too far to the sideline because Palmer adjusts or redirects. Otherwise, the ball could have been intercepted or a play on the ball by Ardarius or Del'Shawn. Separation had been created, again, I believe, by the push-off from Palmer. But, you may have a different opinion on it than me, but I think he looks quicker. I do think there's times where his footwork is a little looser than some of the other guys that you see, even on other teams that are his level, meaning like, backup guys. All right, about 5 minutes of gameplay later, I think next possession, so 8 minutes left in the second quarter, 3rd and 2, and he's going to cover a wheel from the top side. My bad. I don't know why the spot shadow didn't show up. All right, so he's up top here. My bad. He's up top here. He's going to cover a wheel by the outside receiver. And it's a nice little wrinkle in the bunch. Oh, there's a spot shadow. My bad. So it's a nice little wrinkle, if you ask me, by the Bucs. So they're bringing the outside receiver in for a moment. A little bit of a shield here, but this guy's not pressing vertical to get to, JAD's outside shoulder or anything. He's just coming upfield a little bit to inside, allow this guy to inside step, and then get back upfield for the wheel. So they're trying to find some kind of way to clear him. JAD's got to turn and go. You can see a little bit unsure about what the route is. But look, this isn't like a regular season game where there's complete film study preparation leading up to the game. I'm sure they did some film study, but I'm sure there's some situations in the preseason where they don't have a tell, meaning they don't know on a 3rd and 2 that you're probably going to get, something out into the flats, which I suspect might be what JAD's expecting, because this is, like I said, a 3rd and 2. So he's looking for something short. It ends up being a wheel, and you can see he's got hands on, but I think he's probably inside the 5 yards or close to it at this point. Probably he's at 7 or 8, actually. Ends up being incomplete, thrown over the top. But I think it's another example of the Bucs using the point man to get the outside receiver open, kind of like I talked about with the previous play, the previous 3rd down and 7, where he got beat on the pressure cut from the outside, to the inside, while Darryl Worley went and took the guy in the flats. Excuse me, while Ardarius Washington. Really, basically, I would compare it to like an off-ball screen in basketball. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have many times. Like, you're down on the baseline and you're guarding a guy and he's running along on the baseline, getting multiple screens. You don't know which side he's going to pop out on. Somewhat similar to that from the standpoint of you're not being screened if you're JAD, but clearly they're putting this guy in the way, in the window, trying to make you decide which way to commit to. JAD doesn't overcommit, but he certainly, to me, is looking for a shorter route. He's not turning and going right now because he doesn't know that the wheel's coming, obviously. All right, 3rd and 4. In the 3rd quarter, he's up top. He gets opened up pretty bad here, I think. His feet cross over as well. Now, this is the one that I'm going to say I can understand. I don't think he's got help over the top. I don't think there's the safety's in the middle of the field. On the play that I showed you earlier from reverse angle to the top side of the field, he had potentially had a safety over the top. So in terms of him jumping that speed out, which he didn't pick, that's great because he does have safety help over the top, and you can jump that, take the chance to get a pick six, or if it's an out and up, then now you're dependent on the safety to help you cover that up. In this case, there's no safety help there, so I can understand him being a little worried about, let me turn and go, but his feet get crossed up, obviously. Let me turn and go. He's got no help here. So I think that might explain why he's drastically opening up here and kind of crossing himself up. And then you can see, quite easy completion on the in cut. Again, to Moore, this was a good matchup, I thought. Thought there was good reps on both sides. And then, to make matters worse, not only does guy get the first down on the catch, but then JAD misses the tackle. All right, going to kind of rewind time here and go back to JAD against the Bucs starters. So this is his first play of the game. Him and Daryl Worley are going to exchange roles or coverage areas here. As Ardarius Washington, who's the nickel to the top side, is going to blitz off the edge. So I think it's planned for Ardarius to blitz off the edge here and Worley to kind of spin down and cover him up. In this case, Godwin ends up staying, in a short route. Worley goes and covers it up. Cool. Now, the only problem I have here from a JAD perspective is, this is an RPO, but that's not anything that JAD would be able to tell. But I think he's a half step late in recognizing this, number one. Number two, Worley's jumping this. That's his responsibility. You got a vertical here. I'm a little worried about his eyes. I think he's reacting a step late, basically, and I think it's because of his eyes. He appears to be getting ready to jump something in the flats, and then once the ball is not thrown, then he goes to what I believe is his coverage area. So what I'm saying is, if the ball was thrown here, he's going to go ahead and react to it. Great, you may advocate for that, fine. But the ball is not thrown, and he's beginning to break down here, and you have a vertical developing. In my opinion, this is a 3 deep, 3 under with a 5-man blitz. There's your 5 rushers, potentially. And I think he's supposed to be in a 3 deep coverage. Now, there may have been a man call back down here for Caillou Blue-Kelly because he's away from the trip side, and that's fine. But I just don't think it's the type of thing where he should be getting ready to break down into a pass coverage area that's not his responsibility. Clearly, it's Daryl Worley's responsibility. He's able to recover. The ball's not thrown there, but it could have been. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense and isn't too critical. It's just a small thing that I see in terms of his leverage and being on top of the receiver and not letting the receiver, he didn't really get behind him, but get deeper than he is, even though they're not at equivalent widths of the field from the sideline. All right, 3rd and 3, first possession. He's going to cover Godwin on this mesh sit route in the middle of the field, which isn't really on mesh, really the targeted guy. It's a great play by Del'Shawn Phillips and Malik Harrison out into the flats. Check it out one more time, the whole thing. Phillips pushes the first tight end through and then just overwhelms the blocker. Harrison is there. I thought Harrison had some pretty good pursuit angles and some pretty good plays in pursuit on Saturday. It's a great job by Phillips. We're focusing on JAD, but Phillips is one of the guys that I've just taken a liking to in terms of watching him. Focusing on JAD here, but I love linebackers and seeing them play physical and just overwhelm blockers. Of course, it's a genetic mismatch, of course, between Phillips and a receiver. Get a stop on the first possession. Last play, I think the second possession, I would definitely like to see him go downhill a little bit more on this jet sweep by the tight end, I think Cade Otton. I want to see him attack it more, play with some more tenacity. You've got Harrison running inside out. On some level, you have to have awareness of, do I have any help? If I got no help and I'm JAD here, if there's no player here and I have my peripheral vision, I don't see any teammates, then I've got to play this a little soft and not give him a go, meaning don't go 100 miles an hour to the outside. And again, this is talking about if Harrison's not here, if no one's here on the inside, because if you go to the outside 100 miles an hour, you force it inside, it's an easy cut, because there's nobody there. But there is someone there. And I think that there's no real desire to force this by JAD. I don't see the physicality here. I see a lack of physicality. Now, starting at the first level, this is a terrible job of using your eyes by David Ojabo. Just the same thing happened to Justin Houston last year. I think it was against the Falcons. Excuse me, I'm wrong. One was against the Steelers, and one might have been against the Saints, but I could be wrong on that one. But I know the first one's correct. Same thing happened last year to Justin Houston, whereby jet sweep, nobody runs jet sweep in the NFL besides Matt Canada and apparently the Tampa Bay Bucs. And this is your key right here. This guy is releasing outside, doesn't even have to reach Ojabo. Ojabo reaches himself by his step. He's not stepping with the tight end at all. I mean, I always explain this away as either lack of awareness or selfishness, because you're not understanding what the inside linebacker's job is to fit off of you. Talking about Ojabo now. So as the tight end releases outside, it's a fullback, 41, but he's playing tight end. As he releases outside, we got to fight. We got to fight for outside pressure. Keep our outside arm free. Use our long arms. Use our length to kick his ass. Why? Because the inside linebacker is going to be running as well, and he'll fit on the inside of this. Now, I got a lot of lines there, so forgive me. So Ojabo's job is to fit on the outside. He may get stretched towards the sideline by the tight end, no problem. But then it's Harrison's job to fit inside of this. It's not going to happen at the two angles I drew there with those lines. It's going to happen a little further towards the top of the numbers, because the idea of a jet sweep is to stretch the defense horizontally. Really horrible job by the edge defender, if you ask me. Forces Malik Harrison to run horizontal, basically a gap exchange, but not by design. And then JAD, no physicality, in my opinion. You know, one of those moments where you sit there and watch film, and some of you have done it, and you're like, hey, man, we've got multiple problems on this play, two of which I talked about at length. You know, from a JAD perspective, I think he played better in week 3 than I had seen him in the preseason. Other guys indicated that he played quite well. Before that, I thought this looked like the better game for him. I would have liked to have seen him targeted against Godwin or Palmer a little bit more. Some of the guys that started the game, his battles with Moore were pretty good, pretty well balanced or matched up, I think. You guys let me know what you think of JAD's play in the comment section. He's made the 53-man roster at this point. Ravens let go of a rookie 5th-round draft pick, Kyu Blu Kelly, in order to keep him. Not sure if, you may not agree with me that those two were in competition. He's an outside corner. I don't think he was competing with Ardarius Washington. I don't think he was competing with Arthur Mallette. I think he wasn't competing with Rock Ya-Sin or Ronald Darby. Those guys were on the team, period. We knew that. Marlon Humphrey, obviously. I think he was competing with Kyu Blu Kelly, and from this game, it looked like he played a little better than Kelly to me. You guys let me know what you think of the video in the comment section, what you think of how JAD played. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this content, please consider grabbing a link, sharing it on social media to help this content get more reach. And if you think JAD didn't deserve to be on the team, please let me know in the comment section.